It has a question. Are character people impressions something you have to practice a lot before you're comfortable doing them? Is it difficult to get the voices right? Do you have a favorite impression?
I don't really know that I get them right.
You get pretty close on a lot of. Your Jack Black is spot on.
Jack Black's very good. Dane Cook's very good.
Christopher Walken.
I will say, with Dane Cook, the impression is you just have to take the words, put them in the back of your mouth. Ooh, put the words in your mouth.
That's it?
I always used to do voices as a kid. And a lot of times it's just sort of more of a character than a direct impression.
Yeah.
But I will say this, when I would actually have to work on impressions, like ones that I hadn't done if we were doing some like a sketch parody or something, like a Matthew McConaughey or a Daniel Day-Lewis was one that I had to do that were, or Robin Williams was one that I'd never done until we did the Good Will Hunting parody. And that was, you know something, Will? I don't think you're silly. You're just some grown-up kid. You know, that was this whole thing.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, Will, let's talk about it. Hey, hey, Will. And it was just one of those things where I had to listen, almost like, I know this is going to sound silly. Remember Mission Impossible when they were putting on like all the prosthetics, the voice stuff, and it says, say this phrase. So this is what I would do when it was an impression I would have to work on. I would try and pick one of the most iconic scenes of an actor, and I would just repeat the actual lines from that scene because I knew that I could get it down as an impression.
Yeah.
And then I would try and say some phrases that I knew included kind of all vowels and all of the sort of the plosives that you needed, you know, because these are the things where you'll often sort of determine someone's twang. And then what I would do is I would just not look in the mirror and try and make myself make it their face.
Yeah.
You know, so whether it's like Charles Bronson or whether it's like I've done Josh Hartnett, I would just think of the face, and then start doing, and then eventually kind of look in the mirror and get close enough. And there are some that are going to be out of your register. That's just true. There are just some that you won't be able to do.
Does making the face help the voice, or does it just kind of help you get into the character?
It kind of helps, well, because when you're doing it, you want to include all of it as best you can. So it's not necessarily to help, and it doesn't necessarily hurt. Sometimes it's kind of tough. Like the Charles Bronson thing sometimes makes it harder to do the voice because of the way you have to stretch your neck, you know, with the like.
Yeah, that was difficult for you that day because it was like
you puke satchel. Hey, you crazy puke.
But Sling Blade helps you with the voice, doesn't it?
Sling Blade helps you with the voice when you do that. When you kind of do the, I don't know. It's been a long time, but the thing with Sling Blade is you got to get them autistic eyes, which is not meant to be an insult, but what it is there's no depth of focus. And see, I'm not actually. A lot of people just go out and they go like this, and they go, huh? No, the key is look with the eyes. And this is something actually, having worked with special needs people, it is something that's very common. It's a lack of ability to focus.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people wonder what it is about the eyes that are different. And what it is typically, like, for example, you see me, if I look at my dad, you can see a shift in focus in the eyes.
Right, yeah.
And so with the Sling Blade thing, the hardest thing to get, and I notice people just go, look, I'm doing my chin and going, But what you have to do is kind of stop and see, it doesn't matter where I look. You don't really see any change in the way my eyes go, whether I'm looking at you at the camera or just looking right here at the microphone. It's all about the same distance for that. And you have to notice some things. Usually someone will have something unique, like their eyes. Or sometimes they'll have a way they pronaunce their S's, like Caitlyn Jenner.
But I repeat myself.
Yeah, that's what I would say is first just listen to them by osmosis. Then just the easiest thing to do is just impersonate those exact lines and try and pick up on some subtleties. Then you can turn into characters. Like Dana Carvey, none of his impressions sound like the person. But it's close enough, but they're really funny.
Exactly, yeah. And I think you do a good job of like taking like tidbits and like throwing them in at the right time. Anytime you do Jack Black, he lights up. I literally, every time you do it, I look really quickly. He just like smiles as big as possible. And every time you say the word chat, I just imagine Christopher Walken saying it. Chat. You don't even always say it like him, but I just think it works.
I can never work him in stand-up, and then it's kind of the way I talk. If I'm talking with you in real life, if I'm talking about someone else or I usually just end up doing an impression voluntarily.
Yeah. But it feels very natural. It's not like you're just trying to do something. You're just talking, and then you go into it. Like Trump, a lot of times you start talking, and then you're like, excuse me. And you just like go into it.
There's a perfect example. If I were to do an accurate Trump, an accurate Trump is not as funny. Kind of like the Bernie is not as funny.
Oh, the Bernie one is hilarious.
Right? So we do the Gilbert Gottfried.
Yeah.
But if you really, if you're not going cartoonish with Donald Trump, it's not really as severe as people when they're giving a speech, folks. That sounds more like actual, right? That sounds more like actual Donald Trump. But then you turn it up a little bit nasally and make it a little more cartoonish because it's more fun to do. You like it. That's how you change.
Yeah.
It has to start from accurate, and then you kind of tweak because you're trying to bring out certain personality traits.
It's hilarious, though. Your Bernie, I don't even care that, it doesn't sound, the Godfrey Bernie.
No, but both impressions are good, though.
They're very
the Bernie
good.
and the Godfrey, but they work together as one character.
They're very silly.
It's so funny.
No, you're very good.
We got
I'm biased,
so much.
but I think you're as good as anybody.
Much hate when I hosted the show. When Bernie Sanders hosted the show.
What they didn't see is before. I don't know. We didn't show that tape before. So you come in, and you tell us, all right, I'm going to be in character the entire time. So don't do anything to take me out of character. Always address me as Bernie Sanders. And so you come in, and you're kind of moping in, and we're having technical difficulties.
Yeah, we're going through some stuff.
I don't remember. And then you started actually criticizing us as Bernie Sanders.
Really?
Not mean. You weren't mean. You're like, well, I thought you guys had your game together, and
I don't remember that at all.
Let me know when you
I
guys
will
get
say
your
this
shit
though.
together. And
Yes.
I will say this though. Speaking of debates that happened this week, the Skylar Turden thing with the Devil's Advocate. I kind of developed two things, a little bit of a reputation. But first off, people, I would tell them, you're not going to be talking with me. It's going to be Skylar Turden. And then I would say, just so you know, and this is something too that I've always, we have never, you booked the show, we have never lied to anybody as far as our point of view. I always say, let them know that I disagree with them.
Totally transparent.
Because I don't want to sandbag them because I see it's just shitty when people do it, right?
Of course, yeah.
So I always say, look, if we bring on someone, whether they're from Salon, from New York Times, we have to be honest about it. And I do the same thing with Devil's Advocate, whether it's Jordan Peterson, whether it's John Stossel, whether it's even people who are friends. I go, look. Just so you know, this isn't going to be like one of those conservative webcam videos. Oh, why are liberals always like, hey, I'm patriotic, but they hate America? I said, I'm going to try and present the most convincing arguments that I can from the left.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, okay. But then afterwards, I won't say who, but there are 3 people who said, I didn't expect that.
Yeah.
And you kind of tripped me up a little bit.
Yeah.
And it became harder to get conservatives to do it. So it's not actually
people that wouldn't be able to play along. It's like, come on, you've been.
There's some of that too.
This is a character, and you're like, oh, I see what you're doing there. And it's like, no, you're not supposed to say it like that. You're supposed to be debating somebody who has a different opinion.
Yeah. There's the old, what's the old saying? Preparation beats perspiration. That's kind of how I treat it. But it goes, I would say it's preparation beats perspiration. Then perspiration, I guess, beats sort of self-adulation. Like people who love to go out there. It's like, I'm the best. I'm great. No.
Oh.
Prepare, then work really hard
and
expect to get your ass kicked.
Yeah, work like.
Watch Louder with Crowder live, Monday through Thursday, 10 a.m. Eastern.